The coffee is hot. Oh, it's way too hot. I can't even. It's hot. That's good. It's good for now. I hope you're good. I hope you're being well. Do you ever just feel the pain of the whole world? Like everybody you see their pain and you feel their pain because you felt that pain before and now you feel it again, and man, it hurts. You feel just so bad for everybody. I think it's a kind of grieving. It's very human. It's beautiful. It shows our connectedness and our ability to empathize. But sometimes I get really down. It's like I just see it. I just see the pain, you know? It's just part of, I don't know. It's just being me, I guess. And it's okay. And I think it's good. I think it's good. I think it's beautiful, you know, to be able to acknowledge the pain of others. And then through that, to acknowledge your own pain and to feel solidarity, I guess, which is a good thing. You know, solidarity in that pain, compassion, you know, solidarity meaning togetherness, like we're together in this pain. And it sucks if I can't connect to you and say that to you because it would be really awkward. But I feel it. And we're together in it. And maybe you feel that too. So, my thought today, I've been thinking recently about how I would love to be completely self-sufficient. No, not need anything from anybody. On the other hand, for most of my life, I've been a very needy, clingy person, needing mostly like validation and acknowledgement from other people. And I think that is something that we can be self-sufficient with. And that's very freeing if you can find that within you. But basically, I was thinking about, you know, maybe we're supposed to be whole. If we're whole, then when we connect with other people, we're not connecting from a place of, I need something from you. We're connecting from a place of, I don't need anything from you, but I have this abundance to give you, and maybe you have some abundance to give me, and we can share. But then, if we're really being honest, we do need each other. We can't just always be giving from abundance because we don't always have abundance, you know. That's the honest answer. So I think the ultimate conclusion I came to was this. I wrote it down. It was, oh crap, I just lost it. It's gone. It's gone forever. Just kidding. It's here. Here it is. You can't become whole in the sense that you need no one else, but you can become your whole self. And I'll explain that, but I want to read it one more time. You can't be whole in the sense that you need nobody else, but you can become your whole self. And I think that's the crux of it. Now, you know, we often see, it means you don't need others to validate you, essentially, but you still may need the help of others. In the way that two separate farms maybe need to help each other. Maybe, you know, in a community, there's two farms. One farm has great soil for growing potatoes and vegetables, and another farm has just grassy fields where they have lots of livestock. And those two farms are both fully themselves, They're exactly what they're meant to be, and they don't need each other for validation. I don't need the farmer with the cattle to say, "Oh yeah, you're a real farmer because even though you don't have cattle," or I don't need the cattle doesn't, whatever. We don't need each other. Because each farm is a whole farm. But we do need each other in the sense that we each have different abundances to give. And so the farm with the cattle can give cattle or meat to the farm with the vegetables and potatoes. The farm with the vegetables and potatoes can give vegetables and potatoes to the farm with the cattle, and those two farms form a community, and they become another whole, two wholes. They're each their whole self becoming another whole. And that's like the art of relationship, the art of communion. Every part that each farm has within its fences is integrated and working toward the goal of making the farm that it is in the best way possible. The potatoes are the best potatoes that they can be. The vegetables are the best vegetables. The soil is the best soil it can be for potatoes. And so it's its whole self. But it still has needs. And so I think in our culture, when we hear about like things like, the strong independent type or the clingy needy type, we see these two extremes. The strong independent type who needs no one, and the needy clingy type who needs everyone. And it's much more, there's a middle ground. And the middle ground is, I think it looks something like, once you still acknowledge your need for others in some ways. No man is an island. But you don't need others to accept parts of you, or to allow you to integrate parts of you, to allow you to be yourself, or to regulate your emotions, or to allow you to feel your emotions, because you've accepted those parts of yourself, and you've learned to manage yourself. And so you've become your whole self. That doesn't mean you don't have needs. You have certain abundances and certain depravities or scarcities, right? And to be able to be your whole self fully in those abundances where you can so fully that you can give them, and then those depravities so fully that you can receive or ask. And so that brings me to loneliness. So because loneliness is an interesting thing then when you're looking at it that way, I think, because, well, on one hand, there's a guy in my apartment complex who has been tremendously influential on me just by being himself. He goes to the swing set. He's a few years younger than me, I think. He goes to the swing set almost every day, and he swings, and he talks to himself out loud, and he sings. He sings great. I've heard him sing Little Saint Nick many, many times, and he hits all the high parts and all the low parts. And with a Beach Boys song, that is not easy, and he hits them right on tune. It's awesome. And I often hear him say, "You're awesome," to himself, and then he'll say, "No, you're awesome." And then he'll say, "Well, you're cool. I like you." And like he's like affirming himself, constantly. It's beautiful. He's like one of the most whole people I've ever seen in my life. And usually, people aren't talking out loud to themselves, so you can't see whether they're whole or not. And I still can't see. I don't know. Maybe he's not. Maybe there's parts of himself that he's rejected or something. But from what I can see, the image of him that is in my mind is the most whole image of a person. It just seems like he's never lonely, right? He's by himself, but he's always got all this company. Whereas, on the other hand, you see people who are completely lonely, even when they're in a crowded room. They can be surrounded by people and they can feel like the loneliest person on the planet. And so I think it's important to realize that being alone is not the same thing as being lonely. Being alone means you're not relating with anybody else. You're not communing with somebody at a certain moment. And being lonely, which is, I think, very much misunderstood. And I think if we understand this, I think it's really a key thing to understand. Being lonely doesn't mean you're alone necessarily. They can go together, but being lonely means you're not relating to or with parts of yourself. You're not your whole self. If you're lonely, there are parts of yourself that are not being related to, that you need to relate to. And I think that's really loneliness. And so how can you relate to your own parts? Well, it's the voices in your head, it's like the different thoughts you have. You have personas in a way. You have like for me, I've talked before about like the grumpy old man in my head who lives in the little cuckoo clock and he pops out every once in a while. And that's a part of me. It's a persona. It's an archetype within me that speaks, that seemingly has thoughts of its own. And I can reject that part. I can even feel so ashamed of that part that I just ignore it or don't even realize it exists. Or I can learn what it's trying to protect me from, maybe, what boundaries it wants me to set, and use it as a guide. And maybe if it's, maybe I can figure out if it is trying to protect me from a danger that is no longer there, and so it doesn't need to do that anymore, so I can free it from that responsibility and give it a new, more integrated responsibility that's more consistent with who I am today. But anyway, the key is the key I think to self-acceptance is self-talk, honestly. Like the guy on the swing set, it's like kind, honest, affirmative self-talk. And make sure you hear all of that, because a lot of people, I think, hear affirmative, kind, but they don't hear honest. But honest is a very, very, very important part of that too. And you can be all three at once. But, positive affirmations are an example of just the kind part or just the affirmative part. And you know when you're lying to yourself. Oh, that's not true. Some people don't know. But if you have any degree of self-reflection and wisdom, you probably understand when you're lying to yourself. So positive affirmations just aren't going to work unless they're honest too. And they can be honest. And so that kind, honest, affirmative self-talk is a means to compassionate acceptance of your parts. So you can talk to those parts. You can be kind, give them the kindness and honesty and listening and reflection that they deserve, that they're worthy of, the reverence that they deserve. And that's relating to them. And when you're relating to something, you're well on your way, if not already there, on your way to accepting it. And there's another benefit to this kind, honest, affirmative self-talk too, and that's that it gives you practice for whenever you talk to other people too, right? Because that kind, affirmative, honest self-talk, if that becomes your default way of speaking to yourself, it's going to be a lot easier to speak to others that way too. And I think it's huge. So, yeah, I think it's big. I think it's really big. Now, it gets complicated because sometimes you need firmness and boundaries. Sometimes that's part of the honesty. Sometimes the kindness needs to be minimal and the honesty needs to be maximal, and stuff like that. And that's all discernment. That all comes with experience and wisdom. It's not something you can just know. But I can tell you that if you mess up, and you will mess up, everybody messes up in relationships. I can tell you that apologies do have meaning, especially when they're sincere. And I can tell you that even when you do mess up, the ultimate beginning and end of the universe, at least in my beliefs, is love. And so even when you mess up, there's always room for forgiveness. You may not be forgiven by a specific person, but you can at least forgive yourself and move on, and you'll learn, and that's just, yeah. But if you do want to kind of go a little bit more into the complex stuff, the firmness and the boundaries and understanding what needs to go where, it is so complicated. Boundaries are so tricky. At least for me, I struggle so much with figuring out where the hell boundaries should be set. And so usually it comes down to listening to my anger, which I'm not really good at. That's one area where I do struggle. And a lot of times I need to hear that so that I understand, like, okay, this is where I need to set the boundary, because I need to honor this anger, because it's not just, I've listened to this anger and made sure that it's not irrational. It's rational and it's pointing to something real. And so I'm going to honor it. And then that's how I figure out the boundary and the firmness. But anyway, if you want to go deeper into that stuff, a couple good books are books on interfamily systems, which is a type of therapy created by Richard Schwartz. I can't remember. There's a middle initial in there that he uses too, but Schwartz. And a book that I read of his that was pretty short, and just a good summation of interfamily systems, although it left out some parts that he was like, I can't tell you these parts because they're basically could be too dangerous for you to use without a therapist and stuff. And I don't really like withholding of information. I think transparency is the better route, even if it does mean more danger. But that's a whole separate thing. But the book is called No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz. I think it's Richard P. Schwartz, but I could be wrong. No Bad Parts. It's a cool book. And then if you want a deep dive into interfamily systems, I cannot remember the author. I can almost picture his name on the book. It's called Self-Therapy. Earl. I want to say Earl. I don't know why I'm thinking Earl for part of his name. I don't know, but the book's called Self-Therapy. And I think if you look up self-therapy, it'll come up, and just, I'll just look it up right now, just so I can tell you the right name and stuff. Get my glasses on here. And let's see. Self-therapy. There we go. That's why. So it's it's Self-Therapy by Jay Earley. Jayearley. A step-by-step guide to creating wholeness using IFS, a cutting-edge psychotherapy, 3rd edition. So that book, so my critique of that book is that it's excellent. It goes through everything that No Bad Parts doesn't cover, self-therapy goes through, and it has like journal prompts and like thought prompts, reflection prompts to go through. It's excellent. The only thing is it goes like maybe almost too far into the details. It goes through everything, and it's like everything again and again and again. It almost just beats you over the head with it. But so I think those two books in combination are good. You get kind of the overview, and you get the really piece by piece. So when you're your whole self, this thing's making some weird noises. When you're your whole self, you can connect with others through your areas of abundance, right? And so then you have this beautiful communion of giving and receiving, of giving from, I can give from my abundance, my gifts, my talents. And then in this very gracious receiving too, this so then you have giving and receiving love and gratitude, I guess, or would be a good ways to put it. But you're not giving because you need the other person, or because you need validation, their validation, or you need them to accept you. You're giving because you have an abundance and you want to share from that abundance. Same when you're receiving. You're not receiving because there is a need there. There can be a need there, but it's not an emotional need, or you don't need them to accept you. So when you're receiving, you're not seeing it as them necessarily accepting you. It's them also sharing and wanting to share. It's this giving and receiving. I don't know. I'm getting into the weeds now, I guess. But yeah, I just want to go back to my main point. So the main point was just, you can't become whole in the sense that you need no one else. But you can, and I would argue that you should, become your whole self. And that's, through that acceptance, that kindness to yourself, and kind of befriending yourself, right? And then all those parts you can build up, and then you can really be your whole self with others. And I think that's when you really can be impactful and have just incredible gifts to share with the world. Oh my goodness, I talked about that for so long. I didn't realize this was it's been 22 minutes already. So I don't know. I hope it was useful though. I hope this is helpful to somebody. I didn't really even offer any solutions, except maybe be kind to yourself, but but I like that, we don't need systems all the time. Sometimes we just need kindness, compassion. So anyway, thanks for watching. Peace.